Good morning. It's 11 a.m. Welcome everybody to the Real Biz Academy's aka Centermac weekly sales training. Today we got a lot of people attending, so that is really excellent. Let me go ahead and say hello to Mello, Joe, Carrie, Maggie, Libby, TM. Oh, my IQ is huge. Oh, that's probably Feng Jiao. Okay. All right. Johnny, Justin. Okay. There are a couple of other people. I can't really tell their names. Chen Gong, I don't know who you are, but welcome. I know you're one of us. Tanya, Howard, Nick, Kevin, Maria, and of course, Sam. All right, good morning. Today we got 4 topics to cover. Oh, okay, I know who you are now. Liu Yong. All right, thank you. 4 topics, 4 important topics, I'll say. But before I do that, I just wanted to update you on where we are in Centermac. As I indicated to you, I have a strong desire to make Centermac into a virtual brokerage for a few reasons. I think in the pandemic environment, the virtual brokerage makes perfect sense. Reason is that there is a little, welcome. Who is this? Carlos, hey, good morning. And Amy, good morning. So there are a couple of uncertainties. One has to do with, the economy. We don't know. Right now it looks like it's under control, but whether we're gonna get another wave or not, we don't really know. I've been vaccinated twice already, but from what I was told, it's only good for 6 months, and I have to go back and get vaccinated again. So it's not gonna. I don't think it's going to change completely, but I think people are becoming more aware of the risk involved in COVID. People are taking the necessary precaution, wearing our face mask, washing hands, keeping our social distance, and so forth. For this reason, and also for the reason that the economy is under control, but we don't really know if it's gonna get worse. So I think if you go virtual, you can better control your costs. You can minimize the risk. But in terms of customer service, you're not gonna get lesser customer service as an agent from us anyway, from me anyway. And the reason I said that is for all the newcomers, the newer agents, they all have a mentor assigned to them. So newer agents will get the support that they need. The mentors are my, hello Carrie, and there are a few people that I don't not sure I know your name. I apologize. Wei Hang, okay, I think that's Wei. Yeah, that's right. Win, right, Win. Okay, all right, and the new people have slightly different terms than the original agents that I used to hire. We're getting better in finding that agents that are committed to being professionals. So one of the things I do is to make sure they get enough support. And by assigning a mentor to them, they will always get either support from me or from the mentor that they work with. Now, the mentors are primarily my assistants. They are assisting me to answer your day-to-day routine questions. You don't know how to get onto the MLS. You don't know how to navigate around MLS. Those are the things you can consult the mentor. Okay, now the things that I prefer, I spend the time with you, will be things related to your sales, how you're gonna get business, and when you get a potential client, what are some of the things that you should know before you made an appointment with that. Those kind of things, I think I can put my time to better use for those kind of things. Things like how to run a, install an e-key. You go to your mentor for that, okay? And also we are improving on Zipform support, that's for sure. Afterwards, I'm gonna show you how I'm able to upload the tutorial videos. So far, we're just doing it for the Chinese ones. I think the Chinese agents tend to need more help and support in that regards. I'm not saying that the English-speaking ones aren't important, but afterwards, I'll show you why I start with the Chinese one, okay? Certainly, I am going to the Philippines to hire more VA help to help me with the video editing for the tutorials for the zip form. I've already recorded pretty much the entire library that has the zip forms, except for the newer forms. You know, the standard ones, they're all in video format already. I just need somebody to edit it. The editing is to cut out all the quiet moments, so that you can watch the video more efficiently, as opposed to having to listen to things that are not important. So that's why it requires some editing. So I'm getting some help doing that. Just to illustrate, okay, and I want to show you my share screen. For those of you, it's just a concept that I'm introducing today. I'm not introducing the entire library of the video, but I'm just introducing the search capability of my Chinese YouTube channel. But the same functionality is going to happen in the English channel, but the Chinese one actually is it's good. So I'm gonna show it, and let me close this. Okay, I'm gonna leave this one here. I'm gonna close that one. Okay, so let's go to the my YouTube channel. I want to show you how easy it is to search for the form tutorial Okay. All right, let me go to my channel.
Need SEO for your website? Go to Fiverr. Find the right SEO expert for your website and start ranking higher.
Okay. Turn that off. Let's go to my channel first. I want to show you how easy it is to search for the tutorial that you need in case you don't know how to fill out certain forms, okay? So you just go to the search box. Let's see where the magnifying glass is. It's right here. So let's say if I want to search for RPA in this channel. Hello, Brian. I want to search for RPA in this channel. It will be RPA. You just go ahead and, whatever that form code that you get from Zipform, you just use the same code. And you'll be able to find the form that you need. And if I hit return, it will show the relevant video. The two below are obviously not relevant. The top one is relevant. And the reason why you will know is because I intentionally inserted the form code RPA in the title. That way, it makes it easy for you to search for the form. Now, the first form, not all the forms are made public though. Some of them are unlisted. But typically, the tutorial for a single form will consist of 4 videos, 4 to 5. So I break them down to 4 videos. And by searching for the form, using the form code in the magnifying glass, you will find the video number 1. From video number 1, there will be video link from video number 1 to video number 2 to video number 3 to video number 4 and so forth. If I click this one, so it's RPA, and I'm gonna click this
给
one.
打出来。
Okay.
打出来之后，这里有2个选择。
And then there
你看
will
哪一个
always
是
be
你
a
要的？
link.
先看一
in
下
the
这个
comment.
Residential Purchase Agreement。
If you look at the link in the comment,
这个版本呢是15年12月份出的版本。
okay, maybe it's not here, but I'll
Okay.
add one later on.
我
There
看
should
一
be a
下，这
link.
是不是我要的表格？
Okay. I hope everybody can hear what I'm talking. So from video 1, you can go to video 2, 3, and 4 because there's an entire series on the RPA. If you look at my playlist, you'll be able to see the entire series. But you're not going to be able to see this. I'm the one that sees this. Okay. So you can see I got playlists here. So this one is talking about playlists for the RPA. As you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 videos here. Now, when you do the search, you will find the first video pretty much all the time. So after you watch the first part, you want to continue, you can go to second one, third one, and fourth one, and so forth. And also the plan is to include timestamps in the description. That way you can jump to whatever paragraph or section you want to watch and not have to watch the entire video just to find the part that you need. Let's say, for example, you want to find out about contingencies, then you will go to the description and find the timestamp that has the word contingency and click, and then you go to the video and find the usually the chapter will be down below, so you just kind of jump to that chapter. Okay, that's just one form. And then I'm pretty sure we'll have eventually we'll have all of the forms in my YouTube channel, both the Chinese one and the English one. Okay, all right, so that's it. So that's just to give you a heads up that this is available to you for experienced agents as well as for new agents, because I do upload forms that are more advanced that are seldom used to my YouTube, but those will come later. Just the easy ones first. That's the ones that are used most common. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and get out on my YouTube channel. So now let's go ahead and go to today's first topic. First topic is on, let's see, what's the first one? Oh, okay, on the zip form. So let me go to my zip form page. My zip form page is right here. Your session will expire. Okay, all right, great. It did expire. Okay, let me go back in. Sorry about that. All right, access zip form. Okay. And I'm just going to jump right into a folder that I created for one of my up and coming listings. I'm pretty sure that one is going to close escrow after July 1st. So that is a relevant transaction as far as I'm concerned. Okay. But okay. All right, I think I may have imported that form already. Okay, to save you guys some time, so I imported that form. The title of the form is Fire Hardening and Defensible Space Advisory. It's called Fire Hardening and Defensible Space Advisory, Disclosure and Addendum. This form was created by the CAR in response to a new law that was passed January 1st, 2021, but only become effective July 1st, 2021. So this is June 15. So we got to be familiar with this form somewhat. I'm not 100% familiar with this form, but I did look up the relevant law and I studied the form this morning before I go on to my live stream. But this form is a mandatory form if your property meets one of the three conditions below. Number one is a residential property that contains 1 to 4 units. So 1 to 4 units only. Anything outside of that is not covered by the fire hardening and defensible space advisory disclosure addendum. So you don't have to worry about it. But if you are selling a duplex, triplex, or a fourplex, we already know about single family residence, but if you're selling a duplex, triplex, and fourplex in Yorba Linda and perhaps Irvine, then you need to be aware of this requirement. That's only the first requirement. In order for the law to apply, the second requirement must be met. And the second requirement has to do with whether or not a seller is required to provide a TDS. Don't assume a TDS is always required. TDS is only required if it's 1 to 4 units and the seller is not someone related to probate proceeding or a bank who got the property into their REO department after a foreclosure, because they would not know anything about the property. So the law excuses them for not completing a TDS. I'm sure you're aware of that because that's in the real estate license exam. Okay, so if a seller is required to comply with the TDS, it's a second requirement. And the third requirement is, well, actually there's one other requirement, which should have been the second one, is that it was constructed before January 1st, 2010. So if it's a pretty new structure that was constructed after January 1st, 2010, you don't have to comply with this requirement. So that's another requirement. The fourth requirement is that the property must be located in either a high or very high fire hazard severity zone. Well, how do you know if a property is located in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone? One place to start, and this has to do with fire hardening disclosure, okay? Now, if you don't know what fire hardening means, to simply put, it means to make your property more resistant to burning when there is a wildfire. It's called fire hardening, because a lot of properties were lost due to wildfire. So the government decided that there should be some measures taken to protect buildings, or to minimize the loss of these buildings through wildfire. So fire hardening, to make it kind of stronger or more resistant to combustion. And the fourth requirement is whether it's located in the high or very high severity hazard severity zone. You go to this natural hazard disclosure. I'm pretty sure many of you have seen a standard. Let me see if I can go to my. Oh, are you guys able to see my screen? I hope you can. If you're able to, I will show you a screenshot that I took. earlier. This is a screenshot I took. Okay. So this is the first page of the natural hazard disclosure. Let me see if I can enlarge it a little bit. Okay, hi Kevin, hi Kathleen, hi Lisa, hi Annie. Now this is the first page of the natural hazard disclosure. You see there is a checkbox on the first page. It says a very high fire hazard severity zone. You see that this one is checked no. Now if you see no, you don't have to worry about this form, really. So that's usually the first place you would go to see if you need to worry about this form, is to look at the natural hazard disclosure. If you are a listing agent, it makes sense for you to order your natural hazard disclosure even before you put the property on the market. That way you have the information right in front of you. It's all stated here. Someone else did the work for you. You just need to pay for it and then figure it out. Because this responsibility is undertaken by a third-party company. It would not be your responsibility. Now, if you rely on an NHD report, I don't think you need to go to the city to check it out. I think NHD report is a good source to rely upon. Okay. Now, if it is checked yes here, so you need to worry about it, right? But since it's checked no, we're not going to worry about it for now. Okay. So, but just for purposes of illustration, assume that it was checked yes. So we're going to continue with the discussion. So we know it's checked yes. Okay. So let me close this. Okay. Now let's go back to that screen. This one, the second one, is about defensible space compliance. Whether it's fire hardening disclosure or defensible space compliance, the 4 requirements are the same. It has to meet actually on the defensible space compliance, there are 3 requirements. One of them is missing. Well, which one is missing? The one is missing is actually the year built, so be careful. So, year built only determines if, you need to make any fire hardening disclosure. So if you take away the year built, if it meets the remaining 3 requirements. So in other words, even for building that is built after January 1st, 2010, you still have to worry about defensible space compliance if it is 1 to 4 units, and if seller is required by law to provide a transfer disclosure statement to the buyer, and the property is located in a high or very high fire severity zone. If these 3 requirements are met, even for newer building, defensible space compliance is required. Now, what exactly is defensible space compliance? I only know that there needs to be a 100 feet clearance between the structure of the building and the area. It's called 100 feet. Okay, so in other words, there's some kind of a buffer zone. There got to be some kind of vegetation. That's why it has to do with vegetation management, which we'll see later on. Okay, so we'll talk more about this in the future. I'm new to the form, so today that's all I'm going to talk about. Where to locate the information, I already showed it to you. Now, if in fact you are required to make the disclosure based on 1A because it met all the 4 requirements, then you well, then because the default is the home is in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone. Okay. You see, even if the home is not in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone, there is no law that says the seller cannot provide this information only as advisory only. So even if you're not in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone, you can just go ahead and check this here, okay? Only as an advisory, okay? But this is a voluntary disclosure. I'm thinking to myself, because it is a voluntary disclosure, why bother? Okay, why should you go ahead and, go ahead, but if you want, you can do that, but it's not required by law. It's only advisory. That's why it's not a disclosure. And of course, if you are not in a fire severity zone, that's all you're gonna to fill out as far as the form is concerned. And then you can pretty much go to the end of it, okay, and sign your name, and that's it. Nothing else you need to do. But if it is in fact in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone, okay, you got more work to do. In that case, you're gonna go to the fire hardening vulnerabilities. You see, the most sellers are not sophisticated enough to answer this question, but certainly the seller would be able to tell you if it's a single pane window or double pane window. So if it has certain features that make the home vulnerable to wildfire and flying embers, and if it's in the high or very high fire hazard severity zone, the seller would have to answer this question, right? I think the most obvious one to me is whether it's single pane or not. And then, of course, there are other things that even I myself are not too familiar with. More to share with you later on. But we certainly need to be able to provide the answers when the seller asks this question, well, Kenny, how should I fill this out? My home is in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone. I don't know how to fill this out. Of course, you can throw your hands up and say, I don't know either. Okay, well, somebody has got to provide the answer, right? Hello, Hannah. Yeah, unfortunately, but don't you worry. I will do a separate tutorial in Chinese, okay? And that will be in the form of a video. I'll upload it to my Chinese channel, so that's coming. So don't worry about that, okay? All right, so the seller needs to fill out 3B. And most likely 4 would also apply because 4 is based on 1A2. We've already covered 1A2 because 1A2 is actually more inclusive than 1A1 because 1A1 only applies to buildings that are built before January 1st, 2010, but 1A2 applies to pretty much all buildings if they meet the other 3 requirements. So, number 4 would have to be filled out. Okay. It's not easy. I mean, for Chinese speaking seller, I mean, how are they going to understand all of this? I'm going to need to do a video on that in Chinese. Okay. And then, the seller is going to have to go to the city to find out if there's any local, actually, in this, on the defensible space requirements, the seller only needs to check certain boxes that applies. the default is just paragraph 1. Okay, paragraph 1 says the buyer, you're going to take care of it yourself. You are going to go ahead and acquire the documentation yourself. Okay, I'm not going to help you with that. The condition to ask the buyer to do the checking themselves is that if there is no local ordinance requiring proof of compliance with defensible space law. Well, you have to check with the city government, because in some cities, even though there's no wildfire in cities like Monterey Park has what we call a point of sale ordinance. What that means is that before you can close escrow, the city will have to send an inspector to inspect for compliance issue. So, if the local government does not require proof of compliance with defensible space law, then it's very easy for the seller. Seller basically will just rely on number 1 and skip the rest of it. Okay, that's an easy one. And however, even if there is no local ordinance and the seller somehow within the last 6 months has already obtained documentation of compliance with the state defensible space law, then this is the state requirements that the seller just obtained. So the seller would have to check this box in case the seller got the report in the last 6 months, got the documentation in the last 6 months. That is if number 2 applies. Number 3 is talking about local vegetation management or other defensible space ordinance in effect, which permits compliance after close of escrow. In some cities, they may have local vegetation management ordinance, which allows the buyer to comply with it after they close escrow. If your property is in one such city, you can check number 3. Okay. All right, Lily, good morning. Number 4 talks about local vegetation management or other defensible space ordinance in effect, which requires compliance prior to close of escrow. So you have to be aware there are some local ordinance that allows compliance after close of escrow, and there are some local ordinance that requires compliance before close of escrow. So when you do your listing, you do need to go to the city to check it out. Are they allowing compliance after close of escrow? Or they insist on compliance before close of escrow? Then check your box accordingly. So as you can see, if you list a property in a high or very high fire severity zone, there's a lot of extra work, right? Okay. All right. And then number 5 says, if 2 or 4 is checked, the local agency from which a copy of the documentation may be obtained is. So you're supposed to, if you check 2 or 4, you're supposed to let the buyer know where to obtain the documentation, and then supposed to provide a phone number right here in the empty space, so they can call that phone number. And once this is completed, then it's supposed to be signed by everybody. Now, on the form, and I'm not even sure, unless I read the details in the law, how soon you have to provide this disclosure to the buyer. I assume the same time frame that works for TDS also applies to this particular form. So for right now anyway, until I verify with you, we're going to assume that the same timeline, the same requirements that apply to TDS also apply to this form. Just look at it as an addendum to the TDS, then you won't go wrong. Okay? All right, that's it for this form. And now we're going to go to the second topic for the day. Okay? Now, the second topic for the day is on, let me go back here. Let me Go to my scene window. I'm not seeing my scene window. Oh, right here. Okay, good. All right. Okay, this is my PowerPoint slide. Okay. Now let's go to my second topic for the day. Wow, we got 30 people already. Okay, you guys did a good job today. Okay, thank you so much for coming. All right. Let's go over the top 5 MLS rules violated by Centermac agents. And of course, I would know, right? Because every time when you violate an MLS rules, I have to find out about it because they will send me an email notifying me the nature of the violation. Okay. The no front picture is actually quite common. I got agents that make the mistake of only putting the interior picture and not a picture showing the front of the building. You can show the exterior of the building, not necessarily showing the front door, but you have to show the exterior, like a scene in the backyard. That's outside, that's exterior. But most people will just show the front view, the front entrance. Very rarely do you see people put the side view of the building because it doesn't convey a lot of message. So, but if you don't have a front picture, this fine, the $250 I'm telling you about, usually they give you enough warning. They will not fine you right away. The only time for this particular violation anyway, no front picture, I think they give you a second chance. So the minute that you receive notification that you have this violation, if you take care of it right away, instead of just ignoring their email, you'll be fine. You will not get fined. Okay? And so just remember, this is pretty basic stuff. For me, I don't forget anyway, because I think the front of the building is actually pretty important. So, hello, Arena. Thanks for coming. The front of the building is actually pretty important, so I usually would not miss it. So, personally, it doesn't happen to me, but it happens to some of my agents. I haven't had somebody that would delay fixing the problem until they get a fine, but I'm letting you know the fine will be about $250. Okay? Now, the second top 5 MLS rules violated by Centermac agents has to do with update closing in listing or auto sale. This is very common. Okay? Even I violated it. I mean, it's very easy to violate because sometimes we get so busy. So my advice is, you're supposed to update this thing. Say, for example, you just close escrow today. You got 2 business days in which to update your, to change it from pending to close or sold. So you can actually set it up in your Google Calendar, or have your TC help you remind you about it. Okay. Now, speaking of TC, starting January 1st, 2022, we're gonna have our own TC in-house. No more outside TC. I think with in-house TC, we can run things more efficiently. Now, even though we may have to get used to the fact that they are in a different time zone, but they start work at about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and they work through the evening. Just need to adjust your work schedule accordingly. Okay. And they'll remind you. They will remind you, okay, to update your closing. But of course, you have to let them know enough details. For example, if you give them your purchase contract and then based off of your purchase contract, they'll be able to figure out what is your expected closing date. Now, if you're going to do an extension of time, make sure that your TC get notified. If you are the type who forgets easily, like myself, I forget easily. So I must either be very good at setting up Google Calendar alerts, or I must train a TC that is competent. That way, I have a competent TC working for me. They will help me remind myself about all these important dates. That's to update the closing date. Now, what is auto sell? Okay, there is a difference between updating it from pending to closing and auto sell. Auto sell means, for example, at the time you sign the purchase contract, it's a 30-day escrow. And let's say, for example, the escrow is supposed to close on July 28th. But then because the buyer's loan got delayed, now I'm talking about this, much of this is about Southern California, even though number one, the no front picture applies to all MLS. Update from pending to sold also applies to all MLS. Now, some places actually require 1 business day. Most places allow 2 business days for you to update, and that's business days. Okay. Now, the auto sell it's unique to CRMLS. Auto sell, let me finish the example. That means that if you have a 30-day escrow, you just signed a contract today. That means that you're supposed to close escrow on July 15th. But then prior to July 15th, you got an email from a buyer who said, my loan got delayed. Can I get an extension? So you consulted with your seller. Seller said, yeah, I'll give you an extension. So you completed the extension of time addendum, for example, to extend it from July 15th to August 1st. But then you forgot to update the MLS. It still says July 15th. And then in your busy schedule, you forgot to update. So come July 15th, the MLS system is going to know that, hey, you know what, you have this down as July 15th. It's already July 15th. Why haven't you updated your expected closing date yet? So what they do is first they send you a warning. Now, even if you don't update on July 15th, your busy schedule made you forget about it, and then they send you a notice. The first time they send you a notice, you won't get a ticket. But if you don't fix it like within 3 days after they send you the notice, then it automatically goes into auto sold. That means that they assume you're already closed. So they assume that, you're already closed. So they basically just kind of change the record to you. And then by the time you call them and say, hey, wait. The new closing day is August 1st. Once they change it to auto sold, you can't even go to the MLS to update it anymore. So you're supposed to call them up, and I think even at that point, you might not get fined. But if it persists too long, you're going to get fined $250. But if you continue to ignore them, the fine actually goes up. They will double the fine. So be aware of auto sell in CRMLS. Okay? Be aware. And check your spam too. Sometimes they go into spam. Okay? All right, next one is interference with another agent's listing. Now, this is a big one. Okay. Now, sometimes we have to respect the exclusivity of another agent's listing. For example, if you know an agent has an exclusive listing with a seller, do not attempt to call the seller to even say something bad about his current agent so you could get the listing, cause the seller to cancel the listing with his current listing agent. Now that is interference with exclusive listing. The fine is pretty severe. It's about $2,500, so be careful about that one. Be very, very careful. I'm sure you don't appreciate some other agent contacting your seller when they have an exclusive, when you have an exclusive listing with your seller. Okay. Now, next one is for sale sign showing agent branding in MLS photo. See, because sometimes when we take exterior photo, if you take it at a certain angle, now for example, if you've already installed the for sale sign, you take it from the side, you see your personal branding. But if you take it perpendicularly, you don't see your branding because you can't really see the branding when you take it perpendicular. Just pay attention to that. Same thing for this one, they will give you a chance to correct it. But sometimes because of your busy schedule, you just ignore them. That's when you get fined, and that's also about $250. Okay, so these are the top MLS rules violated by Centermac agents. Okay, let's go on to the next one. All right, next one we're going to talk about is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, this is a book that I've had with me for a few years, and it's like a Bible when it comes to sale. You got to have this book because every now and then you can refer to the rules. And today we're going to talk about rule number 3. Rule number 3 means arouse in the other person an eager want. What does that really mean? How do you make a person do something that you want them to do, but they may not have the motivation to do it? Okay. Just to give an example, this book, they talked about a calf. A calf is a baby cow. So how do you make the calf move? If you drag it, it doesn't want to move. You push it, it doesn't want to move. So in this book, the example that they gave is somebody who has a good sense of this particular principle basically stick their finger out and let the calf lick the finger, because I think the calf wants to feel like, hey, you know what, I'm getting something I want. So she was eventually able to lead the calf into in an area where the owners want the calf to be in. So the thing is, how do you make somebody do something unless the person really want to do it? Another example that they gave is about kids don't want to go to kindergarten. If you only think in terms of your interest and not their interest, sometimes we miss the point. See, the kid, how do you make a kid go to kindergarten? Well, the way to do it is to make it sound like it's a fun thing to go to kindergarten. So when this couple failed to get the kid excited about going to kindergarten, they did some finger paint with the kid. So that kind of aroused the kid's interest. So eventually one evening, one of the either the husband or wife woke up and saw the kid was doing the fingerprint himself. And then eventually the kid just got excited about going to school, because one of the things that the couple said to the kid was, well, when you go to kindergarten, you get the fingerprint. Isn't that what you want? Okay. Then the kid got excited and decided that, hey, you know what, That's where I want to go. And the kid will wake up early in the morning, anxiously waiting to be taken to the school. Okay, so the same principle applies in getting a listing. You know, sometimes when I was working with Michael, we were able to sign some listings that had 6% commission. One time we got a listing for 7%. Okay, and we apply some of these principles, that's for sure. If you can arouse in the other person an ego want, what does a seller want? Most of the time, there are only a couple of things that they want. Most sellers, average seller anyway, they want the best price for their home. They want it sold in the least amount of time possible. Now, one of the questions we have to ask a seller on the phone when we make the prospecting call is we ask them, when do you plan on moving? Now, if you have the right seller on the phone, if the guy is in the right frame of mind to sell his home, then you ask the relevant questions. But if the guy is not in the right frame of mind, you ask him, when do you plan on moving? He says never. Okay. Of course, my fairy taught you don't give up yet at that moment. You ask a few more questions before you give up. But if you ask the right seller, he's going to say, well, I'm thinking about 6 months from now. Oh, then of course, you go ahead and affirm and approve, if you know what I mean. So you're going to say, in 6 months, oh, how exciting. And then you ask the next question, where are you moving to? And then he say, Boston, right? So the next question, naturally, you're going to ask is, what's taking you to Boston? He might say something like, my grandkids are there in Boston. Oh, okay, so his motivation is to be in Boston, to spend time with his family, particularly his grandchildren, right? So you go through the rest of the script, and then at the end of the script, you try to get an appointment. He kept saying no. Now at that point, how do you convert this person into a yes? You have to apply a few principles, and of course, this is just one of them. So when the guy has an objection, you handle that objection, and you ask 2 questions relating to handling of the objection. So basically, you handle the objection and then ask 2 questions. The 2 questions has to relate to what he's going to be doing in Boston, because his motivation for selling the home is to be with his family. Well, think about the joy and happiness waiting for him in Boston. If he's able to get it sold. Of course, the sooner he got it sold, the sooner he can spend time with his grandchildren, right? So when you ask the question, always focus on what the other person really wants, and you have to arouse his interest. Get him excited about moving to Boston. So this is some of the principle. Okay, now let's look at the next slide. Now this particular statement says, if there's any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle, as well as from your own. Well, there's actually a story in the book talking about a man wanting to host a series of seminars in a hotel. And he started making prints of the tickets based on the original price given by the hotel. So he's already spent the money promoting the events, and suddenly he got a call from the hotel saying, we are increasing the price like 300%. He almost fainted. Now, some people, maybe a lot of people might get upset, say, how could you do this to me? I've already spent all that money and ever promoting this. So, if you go by that approach, it's not, according to this principle, it's not really a good approach. It is better that you meet with the hotel manager face to face and sit down with him and then speak in terms of his point of view and see things from his angle. His angle is he's supposed to make money for the hotel. Now, if charging you this amount of money, it's not going to make the hotel profitable. So, and if contractually he's allowed to change the price, which he's allowed to do anyway, okay? If you try to be upset and fight with him and saying that, well, you can't do this to people, that's from your own point of view. That's looking at things from your point of view. Whereas if you sit down with him and take out a piece of paper, on the left-hand side, you put down the advantages of raising the price and the disadvantages of raising the price. And the person who was going to do the seminar made the hotel manager. Well, first of all, he spoke in terms of what's important to this hotel manager. You always speak in terms of what's important to your seller. Okay, I'll get to it in a little bit, but let's finish this story. So by the time this speaker finished his discussion with the hotel manager changed his mind. Instead of a 300% increase, he lowered it to 50%, which is more palatable for the speaker. The bottom line is this speaker made the hotel manager see, the hotel actually will gain more by allowing his seminar to move forward, because according to this speaker, his seminars are very popular. It will bring a lot of patrons to the hotel. Now, if they cancel it, these patrons might not visit the hotel because there's no seminar. So after weighing all the pluses and minuses, the hotel manager actually went with him. So he never had to argue or get upset with the hotel manager. He only made the person see things from that person's angle as well as from his own. And, just kind of, first you make the person realize that, hey, you're with him. You understand why he's doing this. But has he ever thought about the consequence? If he does that, he moved forward 300% increase. The hotel will probably lose even more money. So that was very convincing. Now let's get to how you can apply this principle when you call up a for sale by owner, or you have a listing appointment with a for sale by owner. First of all, you have to understand, why does a person want to sell the property on their own? Now, if they are not a licensee, what is their motivation for selling the property on their own? Usually there are several. One of them is to save money. Another one is distrust for real estate agents because they had a bad experience. Now let's deal with the first one. The first one talks about saving money. Now when you go meet with the seller, never put them down. Never say that your way is better than his. Now, if you start with that approach, you're never going to sign a listing with the seller. One thing, when Michael was still with us, he did really well is he always praises the for sale by owner. He's always have nice words to say about their decision to sell the properties on their own. Now, he would say things like, oh, I'm pretty sure you look like a very intelligent man. Just by speaking with you, I know you're a very intelligent man. And I know you will get it sold eventually. No doubt about that. Okay? And then he started going into, yeah, you get it sold, but what I'm offering you not only will get it sold, I'll put more money in your pocket after you paid me commission. That's the approach you want to take. Because if you start putting them down, you never get it sold. Forget it. You're going to lose this client. Okay? So always remember, show empathy and look at things from the other person's point of view and affirm and approve of what they do all the time. Affirm and approve. Okay? All right, so that's it. And I want to show you the next quote, which is from Zig Ziglar. And this is a good one. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. Okay? You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. Now, some of the things I'm doing with my YouTube channel is responding to every single comment. I mean, every single one of them that are posted under my YouTube videos. You have to understand, when people post something under your YouTube video, they expect a response. Unless they come with bad intention, even the negative comments should be responded to. People want to be affirmed and approved of their action. For example, somebody might post something negative. They might say, you know what, that is I don't like the fact that you are interrupting your speakers. That's another thing that I have corrected. Nowadays I let my speakers finish whatever they're gonna say, and then I leave everything at the end, at the conclusion, and then I will start talking to the speaker. So the thing is, give them what they want. Now the people that come to my channel, what they want is, they want to know how they can pass their exam for the first time. So they will ask me questions. Sometimes they will read the exam question and send me private messages. I tell you, I think I responded to at least 90% of them. And you can't imagine what kind of appreciation I'm getting from them. I'm also getting referrals from them. Okay, I get that kind of opportunities because I give them what they want. People want to feel like they are important. They've been responded to. They feel good. So we gotta do that, right? If you want to be better sales. Okay. All right, that's it for the second topic. Do I have a third one? No, I don't have a third one. Now, this is my third one. Okay, let's go to the last topic for the day, which has to do with if you have a seller or a buyer who has a dispute with each other, what is the best way to handle those disputes? Again, empathy and understanding will get you everywhere. Even if I believe the seller has committed fraud against my buyer, I will never start pointing fingers at the seller. That is not a good approach. Remember the principle that we just learned. Start looking at the point of view from the other person's angle. Okay? And then approach him and say, you know what, I appreciate the number of extensions that you gave my buyer. If not for those extensions, my buyer wouldn't be able to buy your property. Okay. Of course, if my buyer never bought the property, none of this alleged non-disclosure thing would happen. What happened is, let's say, for example, the buyer bought an agricultural property. On the agricultural property, there are some battery in a farm that they need the electricity. Some of the battery cells are broken, but because there were so many extensions, I think probably a 3 months delay in close of escrow. Maybe initially when the buyer first saw the property, also initially when the buyer did the inspection, the batteries were working, they were fine. Okay. However, at the final walkthrough, it was discovered they were not working. Well, what does the RPA say? The RPA says that the seller is supposed to maintain it in the same conditions or substantially the same condition as when the buyer first saw it. So at the final walkthrough, when the buyer discovered, hey, these batteries were working fine when I first saw the property, even at the inspection, now they're not working, but that's before close of escrow. Now, when you have a situation like that, ordinarily it would have been a better decision to not close escrow. But this is a unique situation because there have been multiple delays. And another problem was that the buyer had a loan, and if it caused another delay, I think the concern is, what's going to happen to the loan. So in this case, our agent actually made the decision to close it and then attempted to communicate with the seller about compensating the buyer for the dead battery, because I think it will cost about $8,000 for those batteries. Now, what would have been a better decision on that? A better decision, of course, would have been, because the seller had waited 3 months already, right? So logically, the seller would definitely want to see this deal close. So wouldn't it be better at that point to get the seller to sign an addendum to give the buyer a credit before you close escrow? That would have been a better decision, though. Instead of dealing with the seller after close of escrow, when we deal with the seller after, the money is in his pocket already, he has less motivation to deal with you. So it would have been better to say, hey, why don't we work out a settlement? I know it's been a long delay already. Why don't we work out a settlement where, you're giving my buyer $8,000 credit, and then we sign this thing, we close escrow. Had that been done, the buyer wouldn't even have to worry about that problem. The buyer can just go. It's all about the money, though, in this case, right? Now, if the two of them cannot resolve the battery issue, instead of going to arbitration, which of course they have the right to do, the better approach would be, they can fight it out in small claims. But let me tell you a little bit about small claims, though. Small claims cases outcome can be very unpredictable. You can be very disappointed and shocked at the small claims outcome. So a lot of people don't understand. They think that justices are just justices, or justice is justice. But you don't always get justice in court. You get resolution. Whether you like the outcome or not, you get the resolution. But I frankly don't like small claims cases because it can be so unpredictable sometimes. It happened to me a couple of times on my own cases. I was shocked at the results. So I would suggest that you go through, you use your communication skills and negotiation skills, the people skills that you learn from this book, and apply it and see if you can get it resolved, okay? Always start in a friendly manner. If you start in a friendly manner, I think you probably can move things along. You can get resolution. But if you start pointing fingers at that person, it might be a little tough. That's why there's something I hate doing, because sometimes my client will want me to know, you're an attorney, right? You're supposed to write one of those nasty letters. I say, no. I don't enjoy writing nasty letters. I'm a different person now. I prefer the friendly approach. If that doesn't work, then it can get nasty, of course. Okay, but most of the time, if you approach in a friendly manner, you can actually get some kind of resolution. Remember, you're a real estate agent. You want to be spending your time out there making money. You don't want to spend a lot of time helping your buyer resolve dispute. Time costs money. So, but in case you cannot resolve this thing informally, what you're going to do is you're going to come in here, and there is a website. Let me go to my screen sharing mode. I think that's number 3. Okay, Let me see. All right, we're in screen sharing mode, and I will show you a CAR website. You go to a CAR website in case you need to go to mediation. CAR has a page. It's called Consumer Mediation right here for consumer. Now, you can actually find the mediator you want. They are not cheap. They are pretty expensive. They used to be very cheap. It used to be that I can get a mediator for less than $200 an hour. Now I'm looking at this, it's like $350 or $400 an hour. Now, if you're looking at a half the mediation, 400 divided by 2, that's $200 times 4, that's $800 each side. There are some cheaper ones, I'm sure, but this is what a typical list looks like. Okay, but sometimes the $1,600 it's worth it if you find the right mediator. You see, this person here, most of them are attorneys. Okay, now if you get like a realtor, might be a little cheaper. Even $300. That's an attorney mediating the dispute. Okay, I was thinking of getting on the list at one time, but $275. Nobody below 200. Okay, so as you can see, it's getting to be very expensive these days. So if you use the right approach, you handle it well, you never have to end up in mediation. Now, let's say, for example, you do the mediation, and then you go ahead and not settle the case. The next thing is the arbitration. Now, sometimes the accusation is against you. If the accusation is against you, I suggest you go to mediation as well, because there's usually a deductible. Now, someday you're going to learn about how to have the deductible waived by the insurance carrier, but there's usually like a $10,000 deductible. Okay, that's out of your pocket. So you want to mediate the dispute before it escalates. Always open up the channel of communication. Communicate and then try to resolve this thing without having to go to arbitration. Once you're in arbitration, you can kiss your commission goodbye, that's for sure. Okay, because it can get very, very expensive. Okay, all right, that's it for now. It's a long session today, and I appreciate everybody for coming. And don't forget, next Tuesday, the training is at 8 p.m. We have the Southern California real estate market update for the month of June 2021. Okay, mark it on your calendar. Now, I send you guys a Google Calendar notification. Not everybody knows how to use it. I understand that. But learn how to use it. It's a lot easier for me. All right, Lynn, you're welcome. It's a lot easier for me if you all start using, learning how to use a Google Calendar. That way, if you're coming, just click yes. If you're not coming, click no and give me a reason. I don't expect everybody to be able to attend every single one of this. There's going to be it's going to bound to happen that some days you just could not make it. For example, you have a doctor's appointment that conflict with my schedule. You have a close of escrow. You have to be at the escrow, or you have to do something urgent. Okay, I understand that, but I schedule the live stream this way. That way, if you miss the daytime one, you always have the 8 o'clock one that you can attend. Also, I do live stream on this, and if you miss it, please do me a favor. Go back and watch the live stream, because there are some important information in the live stream. Now, if you do watch the live stream afterwards, please put down something in the comment section and let me know you watched the video. That way I know you watched it. Otherwise, I have no idea whether you attended the training or failed to attend or not watch it. Okay. All right. Have a nice weekend, everybody. I will see you next Tuesday.